Okay, so over in settings.php, we need to pick up this name variable. So we can go ahead and check if this is set first of all. Now I'm not going to be creating a lot of validation in this tutorial for the purpose of time. I want to explain other things that are more relevant. It's up to you really how you validate this name field, this name value here. Obviously you want to check if something's been typed in or not, and by all means go ahead and apply other validation methods or apply the validation within settings.php, entirely up to you, but in this tutorial we're not going to be covering it. So I'm going to create a new variable called name, and I'm going to assign this value that we've taken from this post data. Remember, we're posting to this settings.php file. Now I'm going to apply some relevant sanitization. The first one is HTML entities, and this will remove any HTML, literal HTML code from here and create it and turn it into entities. This means that the HTML will be displayed rather than actually interpreted by the browser. And I also want to include the MySQL real escape string function. Because we're posting to our database, we need to ensure that we first of all protect from SQL injection, and with HTML entities we're preventing cross-site scripting, so XSS attacks. Okay, so the only validation here I'm going to do is if no, we won't. Won't do validation. We'll just go ahead and update the database. So I'm going to create a new variable called update, and this is going to hold the query that we're going to use to update this value here to the value that we've submitted here, name. So the query would be update users. Remember, our table is called users, and I'm going to set name equal to name where user ID is equal to, and just outside here append on our session user ID. So let me just go and explain this for those of you that are unfamiliar with how a query in this case would work. However, I'm sure you are, because jQuery is a language that's most often used alongside PHP. So we're updating the users table and we're setting the name field to name, but the condition with our where clause is where the user ID is equal to this particular session. Now this would usually be something that has been defined as the user has logged in, so depending on their user ID. However, in init.php, remember, we defined this ourselves just for the sake of not going through a login and new registration process or a login process. So we're just updating this name here next to this ID, so where it matches, it's a unique ID. I should have probably mentioned beforehand that this user ID field is an auto increment field, so it's unique every time a new record is added, and it's also a primary key. So if I was to go ahead and insert a new value, for example Billy, you can see that when we browse to the data, the user ID is now 2 and the name is now Billy. So we can test this out a bit later. Once we've updated this name, we can go ahead and update this one as well. Okay, so now what we want to do is check if this update query has completed properly. So if update is equal to true, this means that the query has succeeded. So we can echo out settings have been updated. Otherwise, we want to say if. We'll just do an if statement. If update is equal to false, echo could or there was an error updating your settings. Okay, so now what's happening is we are just, we've performed the query, which is we've already explained, and we're just checking if update is equal to true or false and giving the message appropriately. So this message here or this message here, depending on whether the query is run successfully or not, will now be put into this data here, which we then add into our save status, or we override the current text, which is the loading sign or text, and we put that into save status. So now that we've done that, we should receive this message unless I've created the query wrong. And then we should receive this error message, or have this error message display just here. So let's go ahead and first of all refresh this so we know that the data is here. So we've got the current value is Alex Garrett. If I then put in, for example, my name is Alex G rather than Garrett and click save, it says settings have been updated. Now you didn't see the loading symbol because this query is extremely simple and performed, or was executed or run extremely quickly. So we didn't see the loading thing here, the loading text here that we placed in between clicking the button and actually retrieving the results. So in a minute we'll create a sleep, we'll call the sleep function in PHP, so this will become a bit clearer. Now when I go ahead and browse, you can see that that value has now been changed to Alex G. So we know this is working. So let's say that the user has logged in as Billy instead of Alex.